Think about a song that gets stuck in your head. It is almost never the entire song. It is usually just one specific chorus, looping endlessly. Your brain physically cannot let it go until you hear the end of the track. Now, imagine that exact same biological glitch, but instead of a melody, it is an email you didn't send, a conversation you left unfinished, a project sitting at 80% completion. When you lie awake at 3 a.m. staring at the ceiling, you call it anxiety, you call it overthinking, you call it insomnia, but you are wrong. This is not a psychological weakness. This is not a character flaw. This is a biological glitch hardwired into your neural architecture. And to understand why your mind holds you hostage in the dark, we have to travel back nearly a century to a bustling restaurant in 1927 Berlin. A young psychologist named Bluma Zeigarnik sat observing something that seemed impossible. The waiters in this cafe could remember massive, complex orders with perfect accuracy. Table 7 wants the schnitzel, no sauce. Table 12, the fish. 15 orders, 20 orders. They held dozens of variables in their heads with laser precision. But here is what fascinated her. The moment the food was delivered, the moment the plates touched the table, the memory vanished completely. Ask that same waiter 30 seconds after delivery what table 7 ordered, and they would stare at you blankly. The information had been deleted. Zeigarnik suspected she had stumbled onto something profound about human memory. So she designed an experiment. She gave participants a series of simple tasks, puzzles to solve, shapes to arrange. But here was the twist. She interrupted them halfway through some of the tasks. She let them finish others completely. The results were shocking. Participants remembered the interrupted tasks 90% better than the completed ones. Not 10% better, 90%. The unfinished work was seared into their memory with laser precision, while the completed tasks faded almost immediately. She had discovered a fundamental rule of how your brain operates. Your brain is biologically wired to remember incomplete tasks drastically better than completed ones. Scientists now call it the Zeigarnik Effect. But why? What evolutionary purpose could this possibly serve? To understand, we need to look at the manager of your entire cognitive system, the prefrontal cortex. This is your brain's command center. It operates like an air traffic control tower, constantly monitoring dozens of active projects and intentions. When you start a task, your prefrontal cortex opens a file. It allocates mental resources. It creates what neuroscientists call task-specific tension, a background hum of neural activity dedicated to tracking that goal. This tension serves a purpose. It keeps the task active in your working memory so you do not forget. When you finish a task, something remarkable happens. Your brain releases a hit of dopamine. This neurotransmitter doesn't just make you feel good. It sends a specific signal to your nervous system. Mission accomplished. Threat neutralized. Close the file. The tension releases. The mental resources are freed up. But when a task is interrupted or left unfinished at the end of your workday, that file stays open. The tension remains. Your survival brain, the ancient limbic system that evolved to keep you alive on the savannah, doesn't know the difference between an unfinished spreadsheet and a stalking predator. It perceives every open cognitive loop as a potential threat to your survival, something left undone that could hurt you. So, when you lie down to sleep and the distractions of the day finally fade away, your prefrontal cortex hits the alarm. It refuses to hand over control to your delta wave sleep system. It demands closure. It forces you to remember the email, the conversation, the unfinished project, over and over again. Now, here is where it gets truly disturbing. In the modern world, this ancient survival mechanism has been weaponized against you. 100 years ago, a day's work had a physical end. The farmer gathered the harvest, the sun set, The factory whistle blew. The loops closed. There was a natural boundary between work and rest. Today, there is no whistle. You carry an infinite inbox in your pocket. There's always another Slack message, always another task added to the list before you can finish the previous one. The average modern knowledge worker juggles over 150 microtasks daily. That's 150 open cognitive loops. And technology companies know this. They exploit it deliberately. LinkedIn shows you your profile is 64% complete. There's more to do. Netflix ends every episode on a cliffhanger. You need closure. Duolingo reminds you your streak is at risk. Every progress bar, every unfinished tutorial, every browser tab you leave open, they're all generating task-specific tension. Your brain is suffocating under thousands of microscopic, incomplete commitments. So, how do you hack the system? How do you force your prefrontal cortex to release its death grip on your consciousness? You cannot simply tell yourself to relax. Your biology doesn't work that way. You have to convince your nervous system that the loops are handled. Here is how. First, externalize your cognitive load. Your brain makes a terrible storage device. It is designed for processing, not for holding on to grocery lists and project deadlines. 1 hour before bed, take a physical pen and paper. Handwriting activates different neural pathways and creates stronger encoding than typing. Write down every single unfinished task floating in your mind. By moving this data from your internal neural network to an external physical space, you satisfy your brain's need to track the threat. The prefrontal cortex can see that the information is captured. The tension drops immediately. Second, the implementation intention protocol. Here is the remarkable discovery that changes everything. The Zeigarnik Effect doesn't actually require you to finish the task to turn off the neural alarm. It only requires a plan. When you write down that unfinished email, don't just write "send email." That keeps the loop open. Instead, write a precise commitment. Tomorrow at 9:30 a.m., I will send the proposal. Neuroscience shows that simply making a concrete plan for an incomplete task reduces the associated cognitive tension by up to 80%. Your brain interprets the plan as functional completion. Third, progress chunking. If you have a project that will take 6 weeks, your brain sees it as one massive open loop, generating constant tension for 42 days straight. That is unsustainable. Instead, break it into micro-completions. Finish research section by Friday. Each small completion triggers a dopamine release and closes a mini loop. This is why video games are so compelling. They give you dozens of small, completable objectives to satisfy your brain's craving for closure. Fourth, the cognitive closure ritual. Your nervous system relies heavily on environmental cues. You must create a deliberate physical boundary between your active work state and your rest state. Close your laptop completely. Turn off the lights in your workspace. Walk out of the room. And here is the crucial part. Say the words out loud. The day is closed. All tasks are captured. It sounds almost ritualistic, but your vagus nerve responds to verbal declarations. Speaking the closure activates the rest and digest response. Here is what most people do not realize. You are not an insomniac. You are not broken. You are simply carrying the invisible weight of an unfinished world. Your brain is doing exactly what evolution designed it to do. But now you know the mechanism. You have the tools. Write it down. Make the plan. Close the loop. The night belongs to you.